Our biggest issue for CLG will definitely just simply be team play. Even coming into week 5, like I don't think our team play has really improved too much. As a player, I just like don't have enough knowledge to know like what the solution is to a team that has a hard time working together. For us, like I think we just did not click at all at the very beginning, and so it's just going to take a long time.
It definitely has been one of the big issues for TSM here, and it's something that a lot of teams have actually built their teams around. And
yeah,
I think most notably so their opponents in this game, CLG. They are the ones that have, you know, who he was on the roster for a year already, just pull him up in the starting position. Stixxay on the B team already, right, on CLG Black, pull him in the starting spot. So, you know, you're seeing the teams that have approached the teams differently, or the players differently, and you know, we'll see if that actually comes to fruition here in this game. Of course, we are back to the show, and we're gearing up for that second match, which is, of course, the storied rivals of Counterlogic Gaming and TSM, and this is going to be so much fun. Of course, they played an opening day in the LCS back week 1, day 1, game 1. CLG won.
Yep.
Move on from there.
And going into this, it looks like CLG are the favorites to win. They weren't favorites to win in week 1, but based on the season so far. And it's because Huhei and Stixxay, they have been improving throughout the split. And then CLG is still the team to beat in terms of early game macro play. You know, CLG, they don't have a perfect record. They're 6-3, just like TSM. But CLG's losses have usually been a result of them trying too much, pushing too far into the team, which is much better than not knowing what to do and just kind of having wins fall towards you.
Right, and that's kind of the thing is TSM have been this team full of struggles. It's so weird looking at this roster because everyone's expectations are so high, the players' expectations are so high, the players, their pedigrees are so good as well. And as much as people are kind of making fun of them, they're still 6-3, just like CLG are.
Yeah, I mean, GSM's very strange because, let's be honest, they're 6-3, and if they didn't have a superstar roster, you'd be like, yeah, it's pretty good, 6-3,
not bad,
good,
second place.
But despite being down in kills at 20 minutes in a lot of their games, which gets people all crazy, they're still holding gold leads in a lot of games, and they're still able to accumulate a lot of positives because there are positive elements to this team, but they are overcast by the disarray they show sometimes in team fights. But they are able to come back in these games because of the other advantages and the other strength that TSM have. CLG, though, is going to be a tougher opponent, and it will be hard for TSM to have the same types of wins they've been getting against these bottom teams.
Right.
CLG will be punishing those mistakes much more harshly.
Exactly. CLG tends to win very cleanly, so if you get them ahead, they might close the game out on you. And of course, CLG have caught on to some of those mistakes that TSM make, and Darshan says they're looking to take advantage of them.
In earlier season, jungle was a bit of a weaker state. In season 1, the jungle meta was really...
That was not Darshan.
Jungle was hard. I mean...
Yeah, it's true.
That would be a very interesting comment for Darshan. Yeah, changed regions.
Yeah, of course. I was going to make the joke that there's so many Europeans on TSM, you couldn't tell the difference by who's going to interview. But no, honestly, for real though, I'm sorry, for real though, we have the video ready, so let's take a look at what Darshan actually did say about TSM and taking advantage of them.
I think a lot of they have just like a lot of individual problems. Like in their game against Echo Fox last weekend, they were just caught overextending, pushing waves and stuff like that, not doing things as a team. And those are the kind of mistakes that a better team will punish you for.
Yeah, TSM looked to be that
That's
team.
what we've been talking about, right? TSM leaves those windows open.
It's like Darshan's listening to us, and he recorded it like days ago. But, you know, it's fine. Of course, we have the team sporting their Valentine's uniforms on the blue side. That is Counterlogic Gaming. We just heard from him, Darshan up in the top lane. Big Smithy in the jungle. Huhei in mid, replacing Pobelter, of course, beginning of the year. Stixxay and AD Carry replacing Doublelift. Afremu on support with Coach Zix.
And on the red side, wearing black uniforms is not Valentine's like CLG is. Anyway, it's TSM, though, with Hauntzer in the top lane, who's been a very consistent performer.
Yeah.
Svenskeren in the jungle, Bjergsen in the mid lane, Doublelift and AD Carry, and Yellowstar on support with Coach Jarge.
And you can hear the crowd already ready to do the TSM chant.
There is
mention the name.
Always a TSM CLG charge in the crowd.
Yeah.
Like, even if you have Immortals at the top of the standings, whenever these teams face, they're both still near the top of the standings.
Of course.
It's going to be hyped.
It's going to be hyped, and we're going to get ourselves in a game right now in a Champions League at the very least. It's going to be such a fun match here. Counterlogic Gaming hoping to once again be the first team to be alone in second place at the start of the day. TSM right behind them, of course. This is going to be so much fun to watch. We're going to see just what gets taken off the table. Wow, respecting Bjergsen Zilean enough to ban it first. Yeah,
it could be the fact that Huhei also had a Zilean game, which did not go very well, so it's not one of those pick trades they would want to do. CLG also wants to avoid fights a lot, and Zilean is very good at chasing people down.
Yeah.
with move speed enhancements and slows.
No Nidalee for Sven. It's not really an Xmithie special anyway, so I like these sort of one-sided bans here for CLG. No Gangplank allowed. We've seen Darshan play that to pretty good success as well, and we keep just pegging down the champions back and forth between these two teams.
Yeah, and we were thinking that Fiora was going to be a really big priority pick in this matchup between Darshan and Hanser because both of them have shown very good Fiora games. Don't know if it's first pick worthy though. It'll be very interesting to see what happens, you know, with stuff like Graves still up, Corki ends up falling on the ban side.
Yeah.
Alistar still exists.
Kallista's up too.
Now, what is it going to be?
And looking like the hover is on Alistar. Alphabetically, it's the first one up as of those champions we listed. So.
And that's how CLG drafts.
Yeah, you know, Akali and Nivea going to be joining this roster soon, for certain. They're taking their time, of course. You never want to get this one wrong. You never know what your opponents are going to ban against you, and with TSM having fairly generic bans, it's even less predictable, I would say, in some sense. You expect some level of target bans, but Xmithie will get whatever tank he wants, almost for sure. Not a lot of top lane bans go through, and that does mean that Ryze is up. Not the Alistar, but a big carry Ryze for probably Darshan.
Yeah, Darshan played it 2 times in a row in week 4, once against Immortals where he had the good start and then went too hard, and then against Impulse where he was much more subdued and had a more successful game. So still a powerful carry threat out of the top lane for Darshan, but also, honestly, a little bit less of a split pusher. So CLG will be looking to fight a little bit more frequently than we see him when he's on a more traditional split pusher like Fiora.
Right, you either gank his lane and blow that person up, or you just bring him into the team fights and it'll be clean set from there. So we will see Darshan alongside his teammates more than normal in this one. Damage value is probably going to be higher than 412. We'll see. Yeah, most likely, you know, a couple zeros behind that number here. Of course, the probably most contested bottom lane in all of League of Legends right now is that Kalista plus Alistar. No surprise that TSM picks it up. Very contested as both Stixxay and Doublelift are great at Kalista, and both Aphromoo and Yellowstar are happy to play some Alistar in this one.
Yeah, the one time Doublelift got Kalista this year, he went 13, 4, and 10.
Right.
Which was rather successful. It was comboed with Alistar at the time, and it's also what Yellowstar wants to be on to make the most plays. TSM is putting a very large playmaking burden on him, and the Fate's Call plus just being Alistar enhance that capability so much more.
It creates a lot of scariness, but that means that Morgana gets picked up to be a bit more of a defensive option here in this support role, put the Black Shield on, keep people safe. But oddly enough, Ashe picked up here for Stixxay. We have not seen a lot of Ashe right now. You can see first pick in the North American LCS right here, goes to Counter Logic Gaming doing it, and they're up against Graves Fiora.
Yeah, and if we're looking at public perception of OP champions right now, TSM is loaded. They have the jungle Graves, the top lane Fiora, and Kalista Alistar in the bottom lane. That is a picture-perfect draft, and they still get to counterpick mid lane for Bjergsen. Like, this draft has been going amazingly well for TSM. But we always say, playing against CLG, you're playing a different game.
Yes, you are.
So while these picks are very strong for most games we see, CLG probably has a plan for trying to do it.
They have a plan, but even with that, I look at TSM's roster and I like Ashe against none of these champions. Oh, Kalista saves the Alistar, or Alistar pops the ulti. Fiora reposts it, and we'll see it coming. If Hanser misses a repost on an Enchanted Crystal Arrow, it's a mistake as opposed to an outplay by Stixxay here. So just so many risks to have for CLG to pick Ashe into, but they wanted to do it, and they get to pick their last 2 champions here, which will be the victor in the Rek'Sai.
Wow, CLG invested super hard into getting Ryze as a first pick and stopping TSM from having it, even though TSM has not really played Ryze at all.
Yeah.
But even so, we'll see how this plays out in-game. A lot of magic damage, so that's the wave clear with the Ashe, and yeah, you don't really see it coming together much stronger in teamfights as well, so I feel like CLG is going to have to really outplay TSM here based on the compositions.
We'll see if they can make that one happen. Last 30 seconds for the pick for TSM. You mentioned CLG having to outplay, and you're absolutely right. Good luck getting the arrows, good luck getting the engages. But a lot of people are uncomfortable champions, so we'll see just how well this goes here. Once again, TSM not really target banning anything special. So CLG have to expect this is a comp they want to do, and the last pick goes through as Lissandra in for Bjergsen. So now they've both got some nice Freljord-based engage tools here, as Lissandra and Ashe can certainly start team fights.
Yeah, and I also think Lissandra is probably the best champion in the game to pair with Graves. It's a huge amount of CC lockdown, and it enhances the Graves burst. Plus, Graves burst can come from such long ranges. It also guarantees the bounce back on the Q if Graves gets in range.
Yeah.
Just all types of threats on Team Solo Mid. Absolutely love their draft right here.
Totally agree. Power picks and synergy kind of the whole way through. CLG throwing a curveball with Ashe. The rest of their comp, not champs you'd be surprised to see on CLG.
Totally.
But all put together, they're not really the sort of S and A tier champions you expect to see in every single game. So, kind of Logic Gaming putting together a draft they think will work and they think will be good for them. TSM picking things that we expect to see from every team every single time. So as we get ourselves into the game, this is going to be an exciting one. Counter Logic Gaming currently 1-0 against TSM on the split so far, and as two teams battling for second, a tiebreaker could be important.
Yeah, absolutely. 2-0 for CLG over TSM in the regular season would be very good for this team's morale, and we probably feel pretty good.
I gotta say, it's gotta feel pretty good to beat your rivals 2-0. We're gonna see if they can do it. We want you guys at home, of course, to send your votes to @Esports on Twitter, but we also want you guys here in Los Angeles to share your votes here as well. Who's it going to be? CLG, TSM, CLG, TSM. Let us know who it's gonna be. Start out the rivalry. Here we go into the game. Counter Logic Gaming versus TSM.
And we talk about these team compositions, Freak, but at the same time, you look at the mistakes that TSM has been making throughout the year without great team coordination, and there are a lot of things on CLG that can catch TSM out of position. Through the Morgana, to the Ashe, Smithy can do it, Darshan can do it with teleport, so they didn't get the super S tier champions, but they definitely have champions that can play towards their style.
Yeah, rotating around the map constantly, catching people out. Ooh, speaking of that, Binding nearly lands. Stixay auto into volley, gets a bit of a slow, and second round of the Dark Binding could come through. Sven walks away quickly enough.
TSM's actually in position to counter this if they were to go in further.
Oh, you gotta watch for it here. Bjergsen's around the wings, but has no way of landing hard CC without burning flash. And Counter Logic Gaming will be able to walk away quite safely. They got 2 wards in that jungle, and they're not very deep, so it will not track lane assignments or even jungle starts for quite some time.
Yeah, CLG didn't get the traditional ward, which is behind the second tier turret and the inhibitor defending turret. But at the same time, TSM didn't have a full defensive line set up and didn't get the return deep ward. So it's still technically CLG that has the better deep ward coverage with that invade.
I think pretty significantly, they also got one on the blue buff on the right side of the map. TSM got literally nothing. So yeah, all said and done, advantage, though small, to CLG. We get ourselves into the laning phase here as the mid laners do battle, and the lineups are actually going to match up here. Morgana and Ashe doing the Krugs as Doublelift and Yellowstar take down the Gromp.
Yeah, looks like Yellowstar took a little bit less damage than Stixay and Afro, but it's going to be all about the level 2 right here, as I think they both caught them.
I don't think
they didn't catch the first minion though.
Okay. A bit of damage, nice shot right there. Doublelift getting injured. And Afro knows Alistar can't do anything to him really early in the game without burning flash for it, and Afro thinks he's safe enough. Trinket in the brush, and Afro again will just continue to zone this team because at level 1, CLG's duo is just stronger. And now they're level 2 first, which makes it even more risky.
Yeah, and then once they get level 3, they're going to have the Black Shield advantage on the Alistar as well, because they could go technically Q, W, and E, but he gets E second to attempt to block and all in. So
against Alistar, I think you have to.
Already has the Black Shield advantage.
Darshan, ooh, nice riposte by Hanser, expects the Rune Prison, gets it right. That'll be a fun game to watch as well. You can't riposte Rune Prison on Reflex, it's only on Prediction. So these people guessing when they're going to do it is going to be fun.
Trying to find the pattern within Darshan. Also, sometimes Ryze can cast like 3 or 4 spells in the duration of her pass, so it really depends.
You can block the whole combo. Smithy lurking in the top side of the map is level 3 right now. We'll go for Scuttle first. Clears that, of course, pretty quickly. Thinks Rek'Sai has a knock-up in the kit, but
extremely healthy jungle clear for Smithy here. It looks like he started without the refillable.
Double potions.
Of course, Graves can clear the jungle without taking damage if he is doing it properly.
Charges on the refillable, Did not take damage. Smithy used 3 potions, I should correct myself, I believe it costs.
Yeah, the nice thing about this is we get the standard lane matchups.
Yeah.
Which then makes us, it allows us to pay more attention to the jungle pathing. So Svenskeren ends up walking by an early ward, but he has cleared the jungle so quickly here.
And everyone else is trading close to equally. Temporary lead for Darshan up here. Yellowstar hoping to make sure that Svenskeren can get into this lane quickly.
We're going to see ganks in multiple lanes here. Smithy knows there's no counter gank because he saw Graves earlier.
Hanser rooted. Can they outplay Riposte? Nice knockup. Flash cycle goes through into Hanser. A fair bit of damage comes through the flash follow as well. Hanser getting chunked down into the turret. 60 getting without even burning a summoner spell. Just walks away with Black Shield on, but losing a lot of health.
Yeah, I think that actually favors TSM in both cases. CLG burned 2 flashes top lane for 1, doesn't get the kill in a lane that can teleport back, whereas TSM, even though they didn't have any summoners exchange, got Stixxay low enough that he has to recall. So the teleport can easily be used for Hanser to get catch the experience on the backside, whereas TSM is stealing a lot of experience down bottom. No gold exchanged, but definite experience edges on TSM.
Absolutely true, and Huhi really getting pushed around by Bjergsen. Look at the damage up there, puts the E forward, and he's gonna flash in for the first blood! Bjergsen crushes Huhi!
Wow, that is huge for this. Bjergsen, it's been a while since we've seen him solo kill like that. It's something that used to be commonplace back in 2014, but here, Huhi with the cleanse, trying to get some farm. No jungle pressure whatsoever. We just seen ganks in both lanes, but he landed enough lasers early. Sorry, he's not Victor. Huhi missed enough lasers, and Bjergsen had landed enough Q pokes through the minions that he just gets all the damage down. Doesn't care if he's flashing on top of the gravity field because he knows it's about to expire. Bjergsen just completely outplaying Huhi there. Looked like Huhi was trying to overstay a little bit because Victor loves to get the first Hex Car upgrade and then boots, and he was just on 1,000 gold, so he really shouldn't have been there, but Bjergsen had the level advantage, the wave advantage, and punishes properly.
Really nicely done. Huhi just now hitting level 5 off of this one. Did get the upgrade at the very least, so at level 7 he can like one-shot cast your minions, but it is Bjergsen who is ahead now. Level 6, Cleanse and Flash are both up for Huhi, and Bjergsen's Flash is down, which will make him have to respect the chance of getting just a little bit more.
Yeah, there is a very finite window where Bjergsen could throw out his claw. If Xmithy is able to knock him up right there, he wouldn't be able to take it. But as far as not having flash up, Bjergsen just can't get super aggressive because he will always have the Lysandra EOA if he wants.
Yep. Now Svenskeren right now will kill away the ward that Smithy just put down with the Tracker's Knife. And both these junglers have vision of each other, and Smithy will not even try to contest the blue buff, it looks like. Oh no, you're kidding me! Svenskeren mistimes the Q burst. Smithy gets the blue after all.
The 10 health blue buff Prey Seeker there from Xmithy, and that leapfrogs him above Svenskeren.
Oh man.
Because he clears the Grab and the blue at the same time.
Still denied from Huhi. Advantage TSM in a way. Aside from Svenskeren losing all that time, but that's just unfortunate.
Trying to be clever.
Yep. And he will just slink through in this lane. Down about 10 CS against his lane opponent. And of course, props to Bjergsen for getting that kill to make that happen.
Yeah, this will be really interesting in this game, though, because we hear CLG talk about how Huhi is a better roamer than Pobelter was, and they don't care if he falls behind in lane. But when you get straight up 1v1 solo killed, you have to wonder about your ability to roam. How much pressure is going to be in mid lane, and will Bjergsen actually be able to roam early since he is always shoving Huhi in? I really want to track how Bjergsen roams versus how Huhi roams, since Victor is a fairly static champion. He just sits in lane and wave clears until the late game.
He's going to get this one binding, and Stixxay gets it. CLG 2v1, out last hit Svenskeren. Second camp in a row, Sven's lost now, trying to counter jungle.
Yeah, Svenskeren has fallen pretty far behind in experience. 2 major camps stolen away from him right here. Xmithy level 6.5 now taking his red away. So for whatever pressure advantage they have.
Ulti popped in, Bjergsen wants to 1v1 Huhi. He can still get stunned by the gravity field, actually.
Oh
Yellowstar roaming around behind the turret. Not level 6, though. Rek'Sai ulti pop. Smithy says hello, and Bjergsen thankfully pushes the wave in. Smithy still wanted to do something. Small knockup on a Yellowstar, still level 5, headbutt into Pulverize, pulled back in by Doublelift, and now Smithy has nowhere to go, but there's the flash bind on a Doublelift. The damage still coming through, including a Prey Seeker. Exhaust burn, but Svenskeren picks up the kill from downtown. Hits him with the water balloon, 2 for 0 TSM.
It looked a little dicey when TSM had Doublelift get bound, but they had such an inherent advantage before the fight because of all the pre-fight damage Bjergsen could do onto Huhi, so Huhi couldn't return the damage. Looks like he actually died without casting his ultimate, which is also unfortunate. He was really low on mana, so if he uses a laser, he wouldn't have enough for his ultimate left. Yeah, he used all his spells, just didn't have the mana, but at the same time, that's when CLG goes in. Huhi should never have cast that gravity field. Then he could have followed up on this binding from Afromu.
Yeah. Q
With the
auto.
teleport
and then-
coming in, though, Sven had finally hit yellow level 6 after all of his unlucky counter jungling attempts.
Yeah,
Gets the ultimate off, and this is a pretty big early game edge for TSM.
really solid stuff by TSM here. Darshan even used his teleport at the end of that fight. Hanser didn't need to use it, and so we've got a significant lead in every single solo or carry lane, I should say,
Yeah.
for TSM on those 3 champions. This is good for them.
Well, you kind of have to wonder what happened in the CLG game plan. They didn't get enough deep wards down to start the game, but I mean, CLG beat TSM last time by just lane swapping them to death.
Yeah,
Here we're seeing standard lanes, and TSM is a team that hasn't really been able to communicate and synergize with each other.
Right.
Well, they can still lane really well. This is still a superstar team, and Bjergsen showed that. He beat Huhi. Hanser has been going head-to-head with Darshan, and then Double Fnafrim, who lost the level 2 war, but have still been able to stay easily even with
Yeah.
Stixxay. So, like, you really expected CLG to lane swap coming into this one.
Sure.
And force a lot of map movements, but that just has not been the case.
they did not find it. Smithy managing to outplay the Sentinel of Doublelift, so they don't know he's right there, but the ward comes in, and he can be totally fine. 3 members of TSM down on this side of the map. They're going to kill all those wards again as the Raptor buff stays on. 70 gold earned from all the warding.
3 for the price of 1.
CLG says thank you. Push the gold up a little bit here as it's only an 1,100 gold lead for TSM. Those kills are worth 1,050. Actually, no, less than that, 850, because it was a solo first blood there for Bjergsen. So the small farm lead making up the rest of that gold lead that TSM enjoys right now. After earning some money thanks to Dark Bindings and Tormented Soils, but a game that is being controlled right now by Sven and the rest of TSM, putting the wards down. Tracker's Knife plus Warrior Enchant already done.
They're looking for more follow-up. The cleanse is still down for a short amount of time. CLG is trying to counter gank, well, just to also do a gank in the bottom lane. But
Nice. So one of the advantages of not switching your trinket out, I mean, Yellow Star's not 9 anyway, but its cast range is very, very high, and it reveals champions. It gives the outline. So you can actually check brushes from outside of ward range and outside of getting killed range with the sweeper. Season Smithy, stay safe.
then Yellowstar also had the rare swag laugh afterwards after
Of
he was
course.
able to spot Smithy. Feeling pretty confident. And why wouldn't you be on Alistair Kalista? It's like impossible to die.
It
Have
really
your own
often is.
ultimate, and never runs out, Kalista just throws you backwards.
Ooh, Bjergsen staying inside the brush. He dodging the Qs pretty well. And of course, that's with a blue buff on Bjergsen, so it's kind of hard to run out of mana. Doing that, Darshan giving respect to Sven Skaren, doesn't get to stay to kill off the pink ward. A trinket ward comes down as well from Sven, making sure that you can see Darshan coming back in, and TSM continue to wrest control of these wards pretty well away from CLG.
Yeah, and really
Clock's
waiting
still
for
going their way.
Darshan to turn on as well
Yeah.
in this game because, like we said, COD falls in that early disadvantage and they're not really looking to make plays. Probably wait a little bit for Stixxay to combo a gank with the Rek'Sai, but they have to be very careful, you know? They're getting double teleport from TSM, so a lot of that aggression would also be cycled.
Nice black shield on reflex by Afro. Gets him away from Yellow Star, but still there's so much damage from Doublelift, but now Smithy's gotten all the way around the map.
There's a
Looking
gank
for
top
Naka.
lane as well.
Gets some damage on a Doublelift. Yellow Star tanks the arrow, but who even cares? Darshan forced a flash away. Bjergsen can't quite get the ulti in. Good preemptive flash by Darshan to get away. Top lane was focused. He had to run away, but same for TSM's dual lane.
Flurry of action right there. I mean, normally that's a super dangerous gank for Xmithy to make because the double teleports that could come in for the potential counter gank. But TSM instead had been attempting a 3-man dive top lane to get the turret, and miraculously Darshan actually avoids it.
Yep.
Lysandra used the claw and a flash and was unable to lock down a kill on a Catalyst tier rise. But they do trade turrets, and now TSM can pick the Rift Herald up on the backside. But CLG has to trade as well. This is actually very good for CLG. They've been disadvantaged in so many ways, and they're up against double teleport. But to make a trade like this happen is possible.
Being able to go close to equal is not bad. All said and done, it is plus advantage Rift Hero, but then plus Dragon, of course, for CLG. They got this side of the map as well for themselves. So yeah, a completely equal thing. Outer turrets went down, laners got away, burning summoner spells or ultimates in some cases, and then the neutral objective on that side of the map grabbed by their respective teams here. So again, chat, a very equal trade, just sort of illustrating the things that were grabbed by each of these teams. Who he stays at that minus 20 mark under Bjergsen after the solo kill. Not growing the disadvantage really in any meaningful way. So, you know, who he is staying in this one despite being disadvantaged, despite losing blue buffs a couple of times by TSM's counter jungling.
Yeah. Victor can be 0-5 and still wreck a team fight later in the game.
Absolutely.
As long as he's getting his farm. And it's very hard to push against a Victor. Once he upgrades his E, now he's got 2 upgrades into his Hex Core, so he will be able to have faster move speed as well when he lands his Q, and first rank of boost. So it's actually pretty difficult to push Huhi in hard. What Bjergsen should be looking to do is roam, which is why he roamed top lane to get the turret and attempt the kill on Darshan.
Right, you're Lissandra. You can force ganks all the time, and in fact, all these lanes have a lot of damage that he can sort of contribute the CC to. So TSM definitely have a lot of plays available in their book. As you mentioned, the double teleport, certainly a threat as well. They haven't used them to any fights just yet, but that could certainly be coming in the near future. FLICKR going to try to take what control he can. Of course, he's got a ward on that red buff. Smithy going to have to outplay it, and this one does go to FLICKR. Nice Q into Smite. Takes the red buff away. Well played.
Finally, he gets one. For all of his counter jungling attempts, he's actually down in CS to Smithy.
Bro, wow. Headbutt into flash, pulverize, but where's the team? Stixxay gets the arrow on his FLICKR, and Yellowstar's cooldowns are up pretty soon. Pops the ulti, waits out the black shield. That'll be a pulverize. No, he has a flash way to get away from this one. Now the ulti in from the Morgana, and a fight on the backside. Smithy getting found out. TSM turns around right away. The flash to chase. Smithy goes down. The 3rd kill of the game for TSM, and now the re-engage. They picked up Stixxay CLG, heavily overstaying. Huhi walks in only to flash right back out. Bjergsen gets done, but who even cares? He's outside of turret range. 5-0 TSM.
Wow, a 3-for-0 fight right there, and what looked like Yellowstar going real early, but at the same time, CLG was in retreat, and Yellowstar going did delay them. All teleports being burned except for Bjergsen's right there, but 1 teleport traded between them. Yeah, look at how fast he goes. He's also outrange of Fate's Call right now if he wanted to chain the knockup yet again, because Double is so far behind. Sven takes the arrow to face, but it's a short-range arrow, so he's unstunned fairly quickly. Yellowstar then goes all the way into the turret, is dove out, but with that super dive, CLG actually comes in behind them because they're looking to turn, and they themselves get collapsed on because Stixxay and Afro had already used all their engagement on the backside. Sven lands a bunch of damage, and then CLG just has to full retreat. This is looking like TSM's going to be pulling away with a pretty large lead.
Yeah, and it's a team that we've been criticizing and everyone's been criticizing for coordination issues, winning via mostly small skirmishes, right? The mid lane fight for the 2nd kill, the 3 down here. These are all these scrappy fights where you've got to constantly turn back around and find someone else to kill. And every single time it's TSM doing it better. And that last fight was only a 1,000 gold lead. It's not like these teams had very different, values of inventories. TSM just played better.
And this is also a very big game for TSM to win, just mentally, because they have only really been beating the teams at the bottom of the standings, which is a familiar thing to say for TSM, even though their team is so different right now. You look at last split, the big criticism was, well, they can kind of take care of business against the bottom half, and they lose to the best teams. The same thing was happening again this year. Their talent was carrying them through, and they didn't have the cohesion to beat any of the top teams. But maybe this is the first game where TSM actually starts kind of living up to their potential.
And they might be doing that right here. To illustrate the point, their losses this season, those 3 are Immortal, CLG, and C9, the teams that they are battling for the top of the standings. And this would be their first win against one of those big 4, big 3 of this split. We'll see if they can do it right here. 5-0 up against Counter Logic Gaming. 5,000 gold up's got to feel really good 17 minutes in. That is a lead you can work with for sure. 30 minion lead for the top lane, 30 minion lead for the mid lane here. Hanser and Bjergsen poised to do a whole lot in team fights.
And there's still some big standing gold left on the map here. Darshan still trying to split push, just completed his Rod of Aegis, and Bjergsen doesn't actually want to take that because they're just looking for turret gold right here, which they easily acquire.
There we go. Mid lane outer is gone 3 turrets to 1 in TSM's favor right here. Bot lane outer did go down off of the much earlier dives that occurred. Bjergsen split pushing to the bottom lane. He has teleport up right now, so he can split away from the team. Hanser has split to the top lane as well, keeping minions under control there. And the rest of the squad able to just sit mid, recall, or take away Scuttle Crabs, and in this case, Rift Herald.
Yeah, this will be the 2nd Rift Herald for TSM.
I don't think Sven can solo this.
20 minutes. Yeah, well, he's got friends on the way. Graves, no Elise there that can steal it back. I wonder if Smithy can get a Price Seeker in there to steal it
sees
again.
they're around. Smite is not up for Smithy, not up for FLICKR either, actually. The team can come around. It could be a chance for a steal.
Yeah, he would really need a teammate. Smithy has no help. He's just trying to delay.
Nope. Hope for the random steal, won't get it. Red team is lane Rift Herald. TSM gets that for the 2nd time this game, and they give it to Hanser. Try to keep pushing the advantage in this game as a split pusher. His TP is back up basically right now.
I think that's appropriate. He also has Mercury Treads to go up against the Rise.
Yeah.
Even though Swiftness boots and cooldown boots are so in right now because of their incredibly low cost on this patch.
But he's up against an Astor, he's up against Dark Vining, he's up against Rise the champion. There's a lot to deal with. CLG sadly we're out of patience on this Raptor. Let it reset. Smithy takes it back down. It's just a game controlled by TSM. CLG have not been able to dictate anything, and this is the team that second round picked Ashe. They said, yeah, we got to get the engage tools. Essence Reaver Ashe, low cooldowns here. Zerkgreaves kind of weird in my opinion, but trying to get the CDR on Ashe to toss the arrows out to make these engages happen, but we're seeing no viable targets really for CLG. They haven't really found anything to do with this champion.
Right, and we really do have to question COD's game plan coming into this one, giving so many power picks over to TSM, even after first picking Rise, and then CLG just doesn't really seem like they're playing to their strengths. They're not lane swapping. They gave a lot of the pick potential and the split pushing to TSM in the draft. Credit to TSM, though, they took a lot of the good CLG champions away from them. They got the Fiora early on, even though CLG took it away from themselves. Just credit TSM for a good draft, but it's also very confusing that CLG not only had a strange draft, but also didn't lane swap coming into this one. And it's costing them pretty hugely.
Ooh, big bind, big knock, and they go in for Svenskar, and first a lot of burst, and there's the arrow! No, it gets tanked by the Alistar, I think, on the way out, and there's the kill already onto the Ashe. After running away, nearly getting taken down by Bjergsen. A couple more autos will do it, and Hanser gets the kill into Smithy, a 2-for-0 TSM. Counter Logic Gaming can't buy a kill.
Yeah, and it's so hard to fight with these big gold disadvantages, especially if things don't go exactly your way. The Ashe Arrow, like you said, I think it got tanked by the Alistar on the way out, and Hanser, with that Rift Herald buff, is just way stronger than Darshan right now.
Easy 1v1, pops the ult, he doesn't even take damage after the heal at the end of it all. And now Afmu on the wrong side of this map. He's in the wrong neighborhood. Hanser says, hey, welcome to TSM town.
You want to bind him.
And jeez.
But he's just going to riposte it and stun you with it anyway.
Q auto Titanic Hydra in about half a second, gets hit 3 times.
And Freak, this is turning into a giant statement game from TSM.
Yeah.
1 Reek removed from 2 really sloppy games. Now looking to get a flawless kill game against CLG. Here, yeah, looked like it just hit the Fates Calling Alistar or something. That Ashe Arrow just disappeared. Not sure if that's how the interaction is supposed to work, but we'll assume it does. Here, Hanser as well, killing Xmithy by proccing a Vital on the backside.
And he finds Darshan recalling, looks like in the jungle.
Yeah.
As he was recalling randomly over by the red buff and still managed to die. So TSM super far ahead now. This looks so good for them, and TSM fans can be really happy about their team finally knocking down a top-tier team here in the North American LCS, and they're poised to do so. 22 minutes in, 8,000 gold up. Starting to take over CLG's jungle as well. Baron is on the field. Bjergsen is once again split pushing with his teleport up.
Yeah, during last week, TSM kind of looked like they're at their wits' end mentally, but you hate to credit like one person for doing all this thing, because it's obviously the players that have improved, and there's a lot of coaching that goes into this and all these other things, but really questioning their coaching staff for bad game plans, you're questioning their mentality. They brought in a sports psychologist, Weldon, who actually worked with CLG last year during their run in the playoffs and towards the NA LCS Championship. Someone Doublelift respects greatly. And he talked a lot about just not playing with the expectation of winning and taking every game as the game. So to actually kind of take pride in every win, even if they're expecting to win in 20 minutes, it's that they shouldn't expect to win in 20 minutes. And that what will actually lead to lopsided victories, because you're going and taking the victory instead of waiting for it to come to you. And that looks like what TSM is doing here. Bjergsen aggressive in the mid lane, trying to go for the kill. Yellowstar flying in very early for team fights. Hanser going off on Fiora. This is
the
a
new
totally
TSM.
different team than we saw last week.
Yeah, and of course a very different team from what we saw last year as well. It's everyone really doing a whole bunch of good work. Yellowstar tossed into the team, finds the knock on Huhi and Afremu, and there's the burst down. Support is dropped. Smithy on the front line, not as tanky as an Alistar. Big set of burst comes off from Huhi, but it's not going to do nearly all that much. Bjergsen can just sit under the Chaos Storm and really not care at all. 10-0 TSM continuing to shut CLG's kills down.
Yep, pings go on Baron because Huhi was pushed so far back, but they think better of it. I think they're a little bit hesitant on this Baron. They're going to go clear vision.
They're going to let Bjergsen recall and TP back in. It looks like the team will happily start up on it.
They have Callista and a Smite, so the Smite steal shouldn't happen. If anything stops them, though, it would be a Ryze being able to get damage off and create chaos before the Baron. Now they're looking to peel off, maybe for a catch
He's
on
going to get
Darshan.
right behind Darshan. That's exactly what it was, and the Ryze is caught in the wrong spot. Great setup by TSM to get those wards in the right spot, to get the TP to come through, and now Smithy exhausted, running away through tunnels. Stixxay 1v1 of Sven Skaren. I'm pretty sure Sven would win that fight, and Stixxay having to run out. Another pickoff in favor of TSM, 11-0. Damage comes through. Hanser dangerously injured right here, but can he get away with enough hops? Smithy around the side as well. Nice pulverized by Yellowstar, and now Hanser gonna hide under the turret. Huhi and Smithy still coming around. How good's the riposte gonna be? Pops the ulti, pops in the damage. Finally a kill on the board for Counter Logic Gaming, but they're still so far behind.
Yeah, the attempt at a Baron bait goes a little bit awry right there because they do get one kill, but they get a shutdown onto Hanser, and it's CLG's small, tiny window back into a little bit of gold. At the end of the day, though, I don't think it has a large impact on the game. CLG's going to get maybe a turret, and Bjergsen got to push mid lane, so still, Freak, a 10,000 gold difference.
Top lane Adder is down. Sven Skaren is on the flank. Stixxay and Aframu in front.
Nice juke.
Fine, he's gonna miss a big burst on a Stixxay. He's gonna get hit with the Q. He's got a ride and it still gets him. Flash or not, this will be a 2-0. The red comes through. Doublets and Sven Skaren taking him down as the two marksmen on the team. 13-1. TSM have control.
Yeah, unless you're flashing horizontally, that Graves ultimate has range, and it definitely killed Stixxay post-flash. Aframu was just easy pickings after his 80 carry was dead, and Sven Skaren going off this game on Graves.
Doing wonderful stuff. 4-0 and 5. TSM almost entirely deathless. Just the one on Hanser on the tower dive earlier on, and that led to a 2-0, so you can't even complain too much about that one. TSM looking to close this one out now. 10,000 gold up. They are hugely ahead. Looking for the dive. Good burst by Huhi, though. Forces the 80 carry back in, but a knock up into the wall. Smithy taking a fair bit of punishment, but keep in mind TSM's carries are low as well. CLG really want back in, and they will do so. That's a 1-for-1. Now can Darshan find someone else? Hanser on the wings looking for the way in. He finds Darshan. Forces the flash. He gets exhausted as well. Rooted in place, but still wants the kill. Yellowstar goes in. Makes it happen. Hanser gets the kill. That's 3 picked up for what is Bjergsen into the back line. Finds another. 17-3 TSM. Only Huhi is alive.
Big chaos happens right there, and it's because TSM was trying to push a little too hard, but they still get away with it because their giant gold lead. Hanser and Bjergsen arrive very late in the fight. Huhi actually escaped around the back for now. Yellowstar is still trying to play with them here, but he's worried about getting one shot. All the while, the inhibitor is going down.
Yellowstar plays it pretty well. Huhi headbutted out of range. Gravity will stun him. Yeah, that should be a kill on Yellowstar, but the inhibitor goes down for that one. Huhi has to recall once again.
Yeah.
Will be safe.
You know, I appreciate the effort there by Yellowstar.
Yeah, sure.
But a Victor wasn't stopping Lysandre and Fiora from taking an open inhibitor, so kind of gives back an unnecessary kill there. Still 12,000 gold lead, will not matter at the end of the day. And TSM is still looking to make plays and playing very aggressively, which is the style they set out to have when they acquired this roster.
You see that fight once again, and it's just the CC into the wall, just how tanky this front line is.
Absolutely, and it was a little bit of an awkward start. Huhi actually had very good skill usage early on in this fight, getting the chunk down on the double lift so he wouldn't be able to follow Yellowstar through. And here, Hanser and Bjergsen finally arrive at the fight. They push in the back, but Sven Skaren stays alive through most of this. Bjergsen gets a beautiful combo onto 2 squishes on the backside, and as we saw, Hanser was able to take down Ryze by proccing some of the vitals as well.
Bjergsen, I think actually soloed the bot lane of CLG in that fight.
Yeah.
Does a lot of damage. He's got a lot of items here in the mid lane. Whoa, Bjergsen! Caught out in the arrow was the reason that even happened, so a nice pickup there. That Ashe paying off a little bit, but CLG have so much to work through.
Yeah, CLG not quitting. Bjergsen, no flash, no Mikhail's, new QSS anywhere on that team, so if an Ashe arrow does land on a Bjergsen, they have the ability to combo. But the threat is diverse from TSM. Hanser's down in the bottom lane, actually without teleport, so they could sacrifice an inhibitor for a Baron play, but they're not willing to make that risk.
Now they see what happened when Darshan got Fiora. He pushed the entire game down. Now Aframu, whoa, way too far up, gets exploded by TSM. Here comes the Fates call, pulling Alistair right back into the team. Here are gonna be just fine. They find the knockup into Smithy, an easy kill picked up. Meanwhile, Hanser soloed Darshan to the bot lane, and TSM having a 4 versus 2 can push right into the base.
Yeah, and when Bjergsen revives, he will be able to teleport in as well to make it a 5v2 with massive mini waves. This is gonna be a TSM win.
Wow, he got the kill without even using the ulti. Hanser takes down another member as Huhi drops. That will be the game. That will be TSM slaughtering Counter Logic Gaming in under 30 minutes and taking second place for themselves.
Yeah, this was a completely different TSM team, and this is the happiest they have looked after a game all split.
Yep.
This is the first time we have seen Bjergsen really look like himself of old when he's making the kills in the mid lane. Hauntzer continues to have good performances, but is now enabled by the rest of his team. And Yellowstar was getting the follow-up on a lot of his seemingly crazy initiations.
Yep. And the joke about TSM team coordination, they had that loss where it was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 deaths. Well, here's some coordination, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1 death. TSM spreading the burden equally, everyone having an absolutely great game, ton of farm, ton of kills, and handling CLG in intricate skirmishes in various parts around the map, in rotations and knocking turrets down, in winning their lanes as well from just an individual skill perspective, an all-around TSM win.
Very distributed team damage as well. It's actually Sven Skaren who had the most damage on the team to champions at 15,000, but then we have Bjergsen at 13,000, Hauntzer at 13,000, Doublelift at 14,500. It's rare you see 4 people on a team so closely distributed in damage percentage, but that was because they were fighting kind of all around the map, and everyone was making a pretty big contribution.
Yeah, you had participation everywhere. Honestly, everyone doing a really good job on TSM, and again, the first time we saw them firing on all cylinders. And you contrasted it to TSM of last week, where it was, you know, haphazard, what are they going to do? But also you contrast the TSM of last year, and it's, look, you can be happy with every single player on this team from their individual contributions, and that was, in a lot of cases, a new thing for TSM. The joke is, oh, it's Bjergsen and 4 wards. And no, this was Bjergsen and then 4 of the really, really good players making really good plays all game.
Yeah, TSM will obviously need to maintain that level of play for a number of weeks.
Yes.
Because this is, like we said during the game, the type of team TSM set out to create. And it's going to be tough for CLG as well, because that was probably the worst they have looked so far in the LCS. So
sure,
2 sides to the coin there.
Absolutely the case. But TSM did pull up the win. We're going to check in with Riv, who's now standing stage side with Doublelift in a little bit, actually. Apparently, we don't have the interview just yet here. But Riv, we'll be talking to Double.
Yeah, Doublelift now ready.
Just wanted to troll you a little bit, Freak, guys. You're doing so damn good on the desk. There's got to be a little back and forth. But I am joined by Doublelift of Team Solo Mid after their victory over Counter Logic Gaming. You know, not really a question, but I got to say, does it feel good?
Yeah, we really needed that.
Seeing all this confidence coming out of you guys now, they were just talking about it on the desk. It always seemed like the wins came with a little bit of pain. There was something that just took a long time, 40, 50 minutes, but these were clean. What was the difference? Was it from champion select, or did everything just click inside the game?
Well, this week, we all just focused really hard on improving, because we were really, really disappointed with how we were playing before, just like you said. Even though we were winning, you know, it's kind of weird, but our wins were terrible. So we got Weldon, sports psychologist, to come help us, and he helped a lot. And I think all of us we just put in a lot more work, and we trusted each other a lot more. And like this game, I think everyone just like turned on God mode or something. We were just like playing amazing. I don't really know what happened, but it feels really, really good.
Now, you don't want to say that, though. Is this something you guys are going to be able to find again? Did it feel like it just came naturally?
Yeah, this was the first game where it just kind of came naturally. And I think it's just a culmination of like a lot of hard work and a lot of like tension within the team. And we managed to turn the tension into something productive.
Well, that's absolutely awesome. It seems like the wins are now flowing for you guys. That tension has been ironed out. Final question for you, Doublelift. You do have to play Cloud9 next week, but as an observer for next game, I actually want to get your opinion. Cloud9 versus Immortals. How do you think it's going to play out?
Well, it's Team High versus Immortals, so no, I'm just kidding. If I had to like guess, I would go with Immortals, but I want Cloud9 to win because they're cool.
All right, there you go. You have it
He
here.
gets to play Jhin. I hope he gets to play Jhin.
All right, Sneaky gets to play Jhin. We'll see if it happens. If it gets through the picks and bans, thank you very much, Doublelift. Congrats on the win. A fantastic one at that. We're going to throw it over to the analyst desk to break down a little more of the game.
I hope he gets to play Jhin too.
You beat me to it. That's literally what I was going to say. I was literally about to say, thanks, Riv. I hope we can see Jhin too. Now let's talk about CLG versus TSM. Ruined, Kobe. Ruined.
Oh, it can't have just been a romance thing? You guys finished
Give me my chocolates back. No.
Love-hate relationship.
It really is. There's a lot of... But that's what makes it so great. Anyway, talking about this game.
And you'll be here for every step.
versus CLG. Okay. You know, this did look like the cleanest win for TSM.
Oh, yeah.
As Double said, though, everyone just kind of played well, right? I want to get your guys' opinion on what was working, what changed for TSM that made it look so clean, because that's not necessarily the most reassuring statement when a player on the team says, well, everyone just started playing well today.
I mean, we say like this is the cleanest game that we've seen from this TSM lineup. This also might be the cleanest game that we've ever seen in a TSM versus CLG game. Usually these games are extremely close. This was a complete blowout. There were maybe a couple of very minor mistakes from TSM, and that's about it. We saw everything that people expected when you see this all-star team forming for TSM. Bjergsen gets his solo kill. Hanser's a beast in the top lane.
At level 5, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, well, yeah. But Hanser is a monster in the top lane. He's proven himself.
Yeah.
People were talking about when they brought him in. That was the only question mark. Hanser has definitely been a monster. Probably top two North American.
He's an exclamation point now. He's not a
Exactly.
question mark anymore.
Right up there with Huni. But also, you know, the bottom lane, there were a lot of questions about Yellstar working with Doublelift, and they pulled that off a lot better this time as well. And that really shows with a Kalista Alistar combo.
Yep.
Yes, that is the golden combo to have for the bottom lane, but they played it well.
Yeah, those are the three things that I really want to touch on. The first one is CLG first picking the Rise really gives away a lot of what they intend to do with this comp, because then they have to draft Wave Clear and then they have to draft Engage later on. And then the Kalista Alistar going over to TSM, very good pickups there. I think that gave them all the tools and the confidence they needed in the bottom lane. And then the solo kill. That's the third thing, is that solo kill opened up mid lane and gave them priority in the jungle. So Svenskeren can live inside of Xmithy's jungle, stop all of his pressure, take all of his buffs, control his movements, because Bjergsen is always able to lock down Huhi, and he beats him to these fights that happen later.
Everyone in the North American LCS, when Bjergsen gets that solo kill, pre-level 6, has this alarm that goes off in their mind like, oh God, it's gonna be one of those Bjergsen games. Oh, what do we do? Everybody has to play a little more cautiously now.
Yep.
And you're right, Svenskeren also stepping up, didn't really touch on him, but man, the jungle invading, you could see where his mind was at. He wanted to play that more aggressive style like we've seen successful junglers like Peanut in Korea, and even in the North American LCS with Russia and Reignover, constantly invading and trying to steal away camps, to steal away the strength of Aegis stacks from your opponent and really keep them down. The execution was a little off with some of those last hits, but you could see the idea there, and TSM kept up with that game plan.
Yeah, it is kind of a synergistic thing, because if your mid laner's doing well, that enables you to make these plays and go into the jungle, which then frees up your mid laner. So it's just the start off of that cycle was that solo kill that we saw.
Now I want to approach from CLG's side, because they had a pretty easy game 1 against TSM this season. Now they come into this game, as you mentioned, they showed their hand, picking the Rise first. Interesting prioritization when the likes of Kalista and Alistar up. And you're looking at the bot lane going, Stixxay, Aphromoo should be jumping at those two champions. They don't take them. And then once we get into the game, they don't lane swap either, right? So a lot of the things that we would normally look at CLG for that they excel in, lane swaps, having Alistar on, or having Aphromoo on a playmaking support. Granted, he does fantastic things on Morgana, but like setting them up for success and him being kind of the leader in that arena, they didn't do any of those things here. It felt like they almost handicapped themselves coming right out of Champion Select with their game plan.
Yeah, Aphromoo Morgana has been great. Even yesterday it was spectacular. But as you said, it all kind of started, you know, early on in the draft phase. It felt like they were maybe not expecting Rise to be up, and then jumped on it very quickly, and maybe they were a little off kilter, or maybe they were experimenting. They had this Ashe Pocket weird build with the Essence Reaver into Hurricane that they wanted to try out and shoot millions of arrows everywhere, but it did kind of end up feeling like right at the beginning of the game, CLG didn't quite have the clear game plan that we expect from them.
I think you experiment in scrims and then you play what you know how to play on stage. I feel like that's always kind of a bad formula as when you come into this with something that is rather untested.
Yeah, it's what you would hope. I do want to pull up a replay. Pretty early on in the game, about 16 minutes, down in the bot lane, TSM, Yellowstar making a pretty large engagement here. A flash head by Pulverize. Hey team, follow up on this, please.
Yeah.
They do so though.
I mean, yeah, so it is kind of a situation where you talked about, you pointed out, you know, Svenskeren and Doublelift were kind of on board with this call and just had started to turn back, but the teleport came in a little late also, so it ended up working out because CLG collapsed.
Yeah, but look at how much earlier Bjergsen is able to get into this fight. He's already helped Hanser take down Xmithy, and then Huhi's basically, his contribution is a gravity field to help disengage at the very end. Because of the mid priority that Bjergsen had, they were able to continue that fight, even though it looked like it may have been turned around at one point, and then they were able to take out Xmithy and just snowball it from that side and come back into it.
Yeah, when you have that lead in the mid lane, all you kind of really need is the spark to get conflict going, and then he can come in and you can try and use that lead.
Yeah, definitely the early lead that they had secured gave them kind of the allowance for, you know, maybe a slight overextension there. But the other flip side of it, again, if I go back to CLG, I think the weird thing there is that they even did collapse or re-engage, right? They had the opportunity to walk away under that inner turret and make it a 0-for-0 trade, and instead it becomes a 3-for-0.
And this is the team that we all have been praising for their, you know, team coordination, and they're all about the lane swap, and they're all about the team play, and this just had a bunch of question marks in both of those categories for them this game.
Yeah, so an interesting role reversal in this game. CLG now coming out with a few question marks, and TSM definitely looking a little bit more certain.
As you said, exclamation
in what
point.
they do. Right, yeah, exactly. Well, Hanser's an exclamation point. CLG is now a question mark. That's our conclusion for the day. We'll watch for stray Heartseeker arrows over the break because we'll need you at full health for our next match, Immortals versus Cloud9. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Dennis, do you have any good joke for me?
Any what?
Good jokes.
To calm you down?
No?
Oh, then I have no jokes.
Oh, damn.
I'm all out of jokes.
But there's the flash bind on a double if the damage still coming through, including a Prey Seeker. Exhaust burn, but Sven Skaren picks up the kill from downtown.
Looking for Ash. Going. Go.
Look Ash.
I'm on board.
And he's gonna miss a big burst on a stick say. He's gonna get hit for the Q. He's got a ride and it still gets him. They find the knockup into Xmithy. An easy kill picked up. Meanwhile, Hanser solo Darshan to the bot lane. That will be TSM slaughtering Counter Logic Gaming.